Thursday Night Football game. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button so you get all the drops. As I said in previous episodes, we are going to have 3 episodes a week. We'll have an episode dropping on Tuesdays for your waiver wires, Thursdays for your Thursday night preview, and Saturdays for your weekend preview starts and sits. That being said, let's get into the first team of the Thursday night game that we want to talk about, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. As you can see here, we have our starts and our sits, and let's start from the top here. Pat Mahomes is locked and loaded. You're going to play him no matter what start of the week. I don't think we need to go into detail of why, but he is your QB1 from last year, and he keeps himself up around the QB3 range every single season he's been here in Kansas City that he's played a full season. I
think as we move on through the season, and bear with us, this is our first year doing this, and going through starts and sits with you guys and doing this podcast. So I think as we move on the season, he's going to be an every week starter. However, there's going to be a lot of every week starters that there are going to be times where we prefer to sit them if we had someone better. Mahomes is never going to be in that category. He's matchup proof. Yeah. So as long as we talk about Kansas City start sits, and we're going to go through all the positions and all the players, Mahomes will be a start.
Yeah, moving down the list here, as you can see, we got Isaiah Pacheco as a start on this week, along with Jerick McKinnon. And that's going to be game script wise. If it's a ground and pound, run the clock out type situation without Travis Kelce there, I could see Isaiah Pacheco being the guy. Now let's take that with a little precaution, because he is coming off of surgeries. He is coming off of being on the injured list. However, he is cleared and ready to go. But Jerick McKinnon could be a situation that without Travis Kelce there, the targets are going to have to go to somebody. And we know what he did towards the end of the season for the Chiefs in that run to the Super Bowl. And he is a very viable option for Pat Mahomes out the backfield, not just as a dump off, but an actual scripted play.
Yeah, I mean, I think McKinnon is the running back I want to start in this backfield for this game. I don't not like Pacheco. I just think that McKinnon's going to get, especially in PPR, McKinnon's going to get a lot of usage in this game. Yeah. Especially if Kels doesn't play, then McKinnon's going to be used out of the backfield. I don't, and you'll see kind of as we're moving along to the wide receivers, like I don't really trust a lot of these wide receivers yet. There's a lot of unknown there. There's a lot of unproven guys, and McKinnon is a guy that Mahomes has played with. Mahomes ran with him to the Super Bowl, and I think Pacheco is going to get a lot of usage in this game because they're going to want to kind of manage the game a little bit more. It's not. I don't see this game going complete shootout, but I do think that these two teams are going to kind of tiptoe around each other a little bit.
Yeah, I differ a little bit on the shootout. I think both teams have the ability to score points regardless of the players on the field here. So, but I agree. I don't think it's going to be a downfield threat. Now, that being said, our next group of players that I have here in Tony, Sky Moore, and MVS, that does present some opportunity for a downfield threat with Kadarius Toney, MVS being the downfield threat really, and Sky Moore. But to me and Chris, we both agree that Toney coming off of his off-season injuries and off-injured Kadarius Toney, to me, is somebody that we are not willing to start. Same thing with Sky Moore. Yes, Sky Moore was on all the first-team offensive plays and snaps, but he didn't produce much for it, and it's more of a sit, wait, and see what you're going to get out of him, because now that Toney's going to be, quote-unquote, playing, and how many snaps he's going to be in for, that eats into Sky Moore, because Toney's the better guy on the field, let's be honest here. So we actually have our sleeper pick here, and again, this is going to be somebody that you flex if you're in a 3-wide receiver in a flex league, multi-team, 14-team league where you have deeper benches. MVS is a viable option because somebody's going to be taking that downfield threat and chunk plays, and he's the next man up outside of Travis Kelce here, who's going to be able to give you those first down and chunk opportunities.
Well, we saw MVS in 2 of the 3 games in the playoffs last year. He scored touchdowns in, including the Cincinnati game where they had to kind of shoot it out, where they had to kind of go back and forth. He had 116 yards and a touchdown. So I think that he has the most – it's not the most veteran experience because Rich James is there, but he has the most veteran experience with Mahomes of this whole offensive group.
Correct.
Now, Kadarius Toney did practice today. So that's a really good sign that he's going to play tomorrow. And he was part of the walkthroughs. So he's going to play. It's just in what kind of capacity. And I agree with Jono. It's with Sky Moore. It's not that we're doubting his talent. I want to see it first. Like, I'm not going to go and plug a guy in that failed to produce anything last year and has failed to produce anything meaningful in any reps. Like, you know, the preseason and practices and him making catches and running great routes there, that's one thing. When you're in game, it's a completely different thing, and how they're going to script using him is a completely different thing. And I see if Tony's healthy and they're going to use Tony quite a bit, Tony's going to be the guy that they're going to use more.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Rashee Rice. You don't really, you know, I don't expect a ton out of Rashee Rice this year. Well,
especially not with Kadarius Toney being in the lineup, because they want Kadarius Toney. They see this guy as being their weapon X, their big time player here, and to me, he's going to be the big playmaker here, and Travis Kelce is going to be your sort of game manager. You're almost like, you know, when you used to have Hines Ward, Antoine Randall L, and those guys over in Pittsburgh, is like Hines Ward was your guaranteed go-to, never fail receiver. And that's Travis Kelce for this team. And then you had a bunch of other guys that are playmakers, and Kadarius Toney's the best playmaker in the receiving core here. And plus you have, you know, Richie James with a knee injury, I believe, right now. So he's questionable to play. And then they already talked about Rashee Rice and some of the other younger receivers, working them in slowly to start the season. So that, to me, it just doesn't give me much confidence anybody in terms of the wide receiver core except for MVS. And we have him as a sleeper. And we're saying a flex at best to start because, in my opinion, he's somebody you can maybe throw into a DFS lineup or something like that where you can reap the benefits, but he's not helping you in a redraft league unless you have such deep benches and you need to get somebody out there. Same thing goes with Pacheco and McKinnon. We're not saying these are RB2s for you to start. These are more flex plays for you. The only true tried starter is Pat Mahomes as your QB1.
That's the problem with this offense, is that, you know, they're going to be a top offense in the league. It's just outside of Kelce, who's really going to be the guy? Because they, you know, last year Juju produced a lot, and we're going to kind of wait and see to see who the Juju is going to be this season, and everyone's going to jump on that player. Yeah, because, you know, a lot of people drafted, you know, Sky Moore, but like we said, MVS's roster, like his roster percentage and sleeper is 17%.
Yeah. So, well, and here's a scary thing: the Sky Moore, and I don't know if this was a product of the preseason and the plays. He played all 3 games for the Chiefs, and he was with Pat Mahomes during games. He only had 2 catches on 2 targets, and he had 6 total receiving yards. And one of the catches was a 6-yard catch. That's what scares me about the way they were using him in the preseason. I didn't see anything that like really wowed me in terms of what they can really do with him. He's that type of guy who you saw in the playoffs and you saw in the Super Bowl that can go out the slot into the flat and just beat a guy in a quick route and get into the end zone on a 5-yard reception. But he didn't do anything last year to really show me his downfield threat ability, his open field catch ability, his get the ball in space and make moves ability. That's Kadarius Toney. So that's why Sky Moore was in an opportunity without Toney before and is now in a position that I don't know what that opportunity looks like.
Well, hence why they drafted Sky Moore and then in the same season traded for Kadarius Toney.
Kadarius Toney, exactly. Well, let's move on. We're not going to talk about the tight ends here. We already said about Travis Kelce. I did say in my short earlier, and Chris alluded to it, that about Noah Gray being a possible replacement, because this could be just a 1-week miss and you don't want to break the bank and either use a bunch of fab to go get another tight end, or you want to anything of that situation. You can pay for the cheap on Noah Gray. He was definitely efficient in games he played last year. He had multiple games of 45 yards. He had a couple touchdowns thrown in there. Obviously, he played behind a healthy full season Travis Kelce there. So, but he has a 2-year rapport with Pat Mahomes, and between his first year and second year definitely proved he had that. So